Rightio, it's an early morning this morning. I think we're just 5:05 and I'm on my way to Melbourne. 2 days in Melbourne. Day one, visiting 4 different new businesses that have been acquired by acquisition entrepreneurs. And then day two with Ace Training and Rob and the team down there. Part one of the journey complete. Managed to get to Melbourne, get the rental car, and now I'm on the road. Quite a bit of driving today, so I'll be going all the way to eastern Melbourne, all the way back into the city and all the way back out to the west again. Bit of time on the road, but that's all right. Bit of phone calls and good opportunity to visit sites. Quick stop off at Macca's. Their coffee's actually not too bad. Out. Meeting number one. Tim, how you going? Visit number one done. So that was Aerosweep with Tim Boyd. He bought Aerosweep only 5 weeks ago, so he's brand new into it. He really enjoyed showing me around, I think. I really enjoyed him having me there. It's exciting to see all these really interesting niche businesses that are providing real services to real companies. So Aerosweep provides a whole bunch of basically brushes which get towed behind trucks along airport runways to clean the debris off the runways, which, if you don't know, is a huge risk for airport operations. He bought that business 5 weeks ago and is now just going through that whole learning stage of a new CEO. So great to catch up with Tim. We'll see him again at drinks tonight. And now on to new business intro visit number 2. I'm going to go and visit Sam, and he and his business partner, I think about 6 months ago now, bought a cabinets business. So just about to head in there now. So pretty normal industrial subdivision in Melbourne or any Australian city really. And then tucked in here is Almara Cabinets, which is where I'll catch up with Sam and see how his business is going. Good catch up with Sam from Almara Cabinetry. So they've been in there for almost 12 months now. I'll give you an update on them later. A couple of interesting lessons that they've learned. But now grabbing lunch with Ryan. So he's owned a small in-home care business for a little while now and is thinking about maybe a couple of other acquisitions. So grab lunch with him and then on to Rob. Alrighty, so now all the way to the western side of Melbourne to spend the afternoon with Rob, getting some clarity on owner's mission, just kind of reconfirming that so we can double back down into strategy and make sure that everyone's aligned for the board meeting tomorrow. I'll see if I can give you a quick look around multi-skills. All right, so it's Tuesday morning. I managed to keep it under control last night, so I didn't go too crazy with the team out there, but had a fantastic turnout for the Melbourne crew. There would have been 15 or 20 people there, lots of new faces, so it was really good to catch up with them. So I did 3 visits yesterday with 3 different new business owners, and so I'm trying to think of 3 lessons that I learned from that. So probably number 1 is there will be hard times, but that's okay. But if there are hard times, make sure you reach out to the community of people around you. I mean, there's a whole point while we're building this. So there are people that have gone through either the same or something similar, and so there's lots of support in that network. Number 2, new in the process, make sure you really get into the detail. So if you're within the first couple of weeks or for even a few months of the business that you've just bought, really go deep, understand the product, understand how it's made, sit next to the people that are doing the service that you're delivering for your customers. So really go in deep and think hard about the business that you've bought, because this is the layer that you learn that you'll never get in due diligence. And probably the third one would be keep your options open. So you never know what might come over the horizon. So one of the business owners I spoke to suddenly had an offer quite early in the journey for someone to come and buy his business. So doesn't mean that he should do it, but doesn't mean that he shouldn't consider it. So you always got to keep an open mind and be ready and flexible to think about how you might change direction. So anyway, now, this afternoon or today after breakfast, I'm going to go and interview Rob for part of the podcast that's coming up. Then we're heading into a full day board session for Ace Training and multi-skills, which will be fantastic. So really looking forward to that. So back at the Qantas Lounge after a big board meeting out at multi-skills with the Ace Training guys, and went really well. Some very good conversation. I think that board's now really starting to hum, and we got to meet the new marketing manager and also spend some time with Martin, who's the Chief Training Officer there, and just trying to get the ducks in a row for a great 2024 ahead, now back home. Dropping into the cannery, which is a new installation for ticketless parking, and it's actually one of the first of our new scan, tap and go products. I was just a customer and tried it, and it worked very seamlessly. So now I'm going to catch up with the guys and they're going to talk me through the tech. It's been a big week, so I thought I'd just do a quick wrap up Friday afternoon now. So just about to sign off for the weekend. We're down at Ace earlier this week, down in Melbourne for a great full day with the guys down there. And then on Thursday, yesterday, was out at Grima. Oh, well, not out at Grima. We had a meeting in the city, actually, with John and Jake and Ryan. And that was fantastic to continue that process. It was a long session. Both sessions were long, actually. Both sessions were 6 hours. They were like the deep quarterly sessions where we get a chance to obviously tick off on all of the board-related stuff from a compliance perspective and kind of a functional procedural point of view. But then we also dedicate a good few hours to going deep on some particular topics. Quite strategic, that then convert into real action that followed out. I really like these longer sessions. I've got another one with Austral Herbs next week, where we'll go for a full day and we'll spend the time actually really going deep on issues. So been a good week of all of that. It can be quite tiring, fair bit of travel involved. But then today had a couple of those really quick catch-ups with a few guys that I hadn't met before. Again, I've made this comment, but meeting new people is never a bad thing, and I've got some really interesting insights from them. A couple of takeouts, I guess, that I'd say from those two meetings. One takeout from the first meeting is just never underestimating the value that the owner of the business that you're going to buy is currently adding to that business. They're driving that business in the way that they know how to drive it and creating value in the way that they know how to create value. And they're bringing their risk appetite and their approach and all those things to it. And that's great. And that'll define the basis on which you buy the thing that they're operating. But when you take over, regardless of what role you're going to play in that business, everything about you as an owner will change the approach you need to take to it. And that transition is always bumpy. I spoke to a guy today and he said that he was going to invest in this business, and the owner had said they'll stay on for 2 years, and so then he can just keep it operating how it is, and a variety of other things. And I won't go into the detail, but basically the main comment that I made was, don't underestimate how important a change of owner is, regardless of if the operator is staying the same. So it goes back to owner's mission and all that stuff that I've spoken a lot about before. But if you've got a car that's being driven by a current owner in a particular way, the way they drive the car and the feedback loops and the information they're using to try and make decisions about how they drive that car / read business is very different to the way in which you'll drive it and the kind of information and feedback and operational procedures you'll need in order to be able to drive it. And getting from here to there is a process. And so I think it's really important to remember that. Change of owner is always going to be a process. There's always going to be risk. It's always going to be clunky. So make sure you take account of that. The second conversation I had was with a guy who's just about to start his search. He's trying to work out what approach to take. And he seems like the kind of guy to me that would have the capability, the appetite, the grit, and the experience to run a very small business. Now, these people are actually less common than you'd think, the people that can really do it. And so he's trying to work out whether or not he raises a search fund and goes for a bigger deal, or does it on his own and buys a smaller deal. And my feedback was, well, you could do any of those things because you've got the experience to do the smaller thing. And to me, I guess on reflection, depending on what your aspirations are, right? But I actually think that if you can go small, you kind of should, because it probably means you've got the appetite for it. It probably means you'll enjoy the challenge of it. And it definitely means you're better placed than most other people to actually make a success of it. So there's this general tendency for people to think, oh, I should always just try and go as big as I can go, because then the risk will be lower and the growth opportunities more and all these things. But I actually think there's a lot to be said for getting in, buying those smaller businesses. And when I say small, I mean earnings of anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million, like employees from 5 to 15, like that kind of size. If you got the appetite for it, you got the grit to get stuck in and really become an operator, I think there's some huge gains to be had in that. So anyway, just sort of wrap up the week with a longer form kind of update.
couple of takeouts I had from some recent meetings, and next week off to Kentucky, New South Wales, that is, not the US, just near Uralla, halfway between Tamworth and Armidale, for a full day up there with Paige.